Welcome to the Good Morning from the Chicken Coop podcast with Kim Johnson, your creative strategist and master mindset coach. Filled with inspiration, distinctions, perspectives, and possibilities, we help you to cultivate a mindset that leads you to create the best version of yourself you could ever imagine. Join Kim every morning from one of her favorite happy places, her chicken coop, along with all her chickens.
Hey everybody, good morning from the chicken coop. Today I want to talk to you about judging yourself. And I know it's a human thing. Let me just be very clear about it. We all judge ourselves. And it actually isn't a bad tool to have in your tool belt because, again, it stops you. I've said this before, but it stops you from doing stupid things when used the right way. But it's also detrimental to your well-being when it's overused. It's kind of like salt. If you put too much salt on something and you get so used to eating salt, before you know it, you have hypertension and high blood pressure and all kinds of problems, and you have to eliminate salt from your diet. And you're like, I don't want to eliminate salt. Salt's so great. Well, if you used it in the right amounts in the beginning, it would be great, but you didn't. You overused it, and therefore you took it out of your realm of possibility. And it's kind of like judgment. We spend so much time beating ourselves up and judging ourselves, and 9 times out of 10 our judgments are inaccurate because they're jaded. We keep them to ourselves because we spend so much time in our heads talking to ourselves, and unresourcefully so. We have skewed views of things, and unless you kind of expand your views, those skewed views have a huge effect on how you see things. It's kind of like, if you've ever heard the phrase, you're never really completely well-rounded until you travel. And I absolutely agree that travel has a huge impact on your view of the world when you take the time to go and do some traveling. It doesn't even mean that you have to travel far, but just getting out of your own bubble and seeing things differently. There is a tremendous impact on being able to get out and see how other people live, what they experience, what their days are like, and it shifts how you view the world. So think of it that way. In your head, if you don't get out of your head and see how other people are doing it or engage in other ideas, which is why learning is so important, even if you can't physically travel to change your points of views. Books are your best friends with this because you hear other people's perspectives and then you have another way to see the world. So for instance, one of my very first endeavors into this was going and listening to Tony Robbins my very first time, because I was a participant at all of his events before I ever worked for him. And when I went to my very first event and I sat there and listened, it was a business event. It was a one-day event in Boston. And I was so enamored with his points of view of how to see sales in a different way. I couldn't imagine how I had been seeing it and how I felt about it. And then I went and compared it to, how I was seeing it compared to his. And no wonder I was not doing well in it. No wonder I was, failing every day because of my points of view. And when, you change your perspective, everything changes. And once I learned that I could keep diving in and changing this over and over and over, boy, I will tell you, that key distinction shifted my life. It's like you just have to keep on going and keep looking for different things and stop judging yourself about where you are, because it's not going to help you get to where you want to go, if that makes sense. We spend so much time wrapped up in that bubble of ourselves that we don't get the chance to expand and say, okay, well, is this the only way that I should be seeing this, because this feels really harsh and I'm judging myself? And that results in many toxic things in our lives. It's part of the reason why we see so many people taking antidepressants. It's part of the reason why we see so many suicides. It's part of the reason why there's so much alcoholism and drug abuse in this country, because we are constantly judging ourselves. And it's not just this country. I say that, I realize I have people from all over the world listening, and it's everywhere. And it's not just here, but there is a lot of it that is here. And I think that if we could find a way to be kinder to ourselves and take in a little bit of grace into these things that we tell ourselves, we would be profoundly better off. And that grace begins with that knowledge of saying, am I being too hard on myself? And what's another way that I could think of this? What's another way that I could view this? And I will encourage you, completely encourage you all the time to read audibles, do whatever you need to do, but take in information and take in ideas from other people. It's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because I want to reach as many people to give other perspectives, because that's what helps create happiness inside of us. When we have the opportunity and the perspectives to see things differently, all of a sudden the judgment doesn't have such a hold, and it also doesn't have such horrific outcomes in our lives. So please stop, pause, give yourself a break. Judging yourself, while it has its benefits in some areas, too much of it is like salt, and please do not overuse it. And remember, the more perspectives you have, the less power the judgment has. So keep pouring into yourself in different ways, and I promise you, you can break the cycle of this and change how you give yourself a break, change how you see yourself, and change your days. All right, my friends, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.